Well, all right, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good day. This is going to be a little bit of a different series, I guess I'll call it, just to start off with. Yeah, how do I even begin this? This is going to be a completely new project for me that I'm working on, and so obviously, right when I'm starting out, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be some hiccups. My voice is going to crack, so get used to it. So, I'm guessing if you guys are watching this, you've probably already seen the title and you have a good guess about what this is about. And I will start off by saying yes. Yes, Sekiro was released like 3 or 4 years ago at this point. I couldn't honestly tell you when it was released. Let's see if I can figure it out. It was released a while ago. Let's just say that. At least 2 years ago. And because it was released 2 years ago, I have a feeling that not very many people are searching the term Sekiro in Google. So or YouTube really. So I'm just making this because I was sitting and I was talking with my mom and well she kind of convinced me that I should make videos about the stuff that I know about X and Y video games that I play a lot of. And so this is going to be the first episode. This is going to be part 1 of a very very long-term series. I'm thinking I'm going to be doing a bunch of different styles, a bunch of different games, and I'm going to be focusing on what I consider to be the most important um, features, the most important mechanics within each video game. And kind of going through and explaining, okay, what does it do? Why is it important? You know, I think a lot of times video games are seen as a joke. It's kind of a plebeian thing. Like gamers are is kind of a joke word, and I feel like I want to make people realize that, well, I don't want to make people do anything. I hope that I can show people that video games is just like anything else. Like if you care about something and you are willing to grow and learn from it, then I think whatever you do, it's valuable to you and it helps you grow as a person. And I think I will just say that I've seen a lot of people who are really quick to discount and talk down on people who play video games and video games in general because largely they don't play them probably. But I think for the people that do play video games, they understand that, I guess I would say it doesn't matter what you do. Your goal as a human being should be to apply things you learn from one field and apply it to other fields. So let's say I'm going to start with a very basic example. So let's go back to high school. Let's all take a trip. Close your eyes. Imagine with me. Let's imagine you're in high school math class again. And you have a math teacher and they're annoying, maybe they're great, doesn't matter. And you say this, and all of the other kids in your class have probably said this before. When am I ever going to use this information? And I think that statement alone is such a pitiful, like, people who think like that will never succeed and they will never understand the value of life. Because I think fundamentally the point of life is to gain something from something. If you don't want to gain anything from taking a class or doing anything, then guess what? You're not going to gain anything. And you know what that means? That means that yes, the class was pointless, but the whole point is that you're supposed to find value where you can. I think for me, um, I guess I would say that for me, like I would say high school math was really good at teaching me how to learn. Like teaching me um the basic concept that knowledge that you've learned beforehand is critical to knowledge that you gain in the future. And that's kind of like the idea that I want to actually hang on one second. I'm going to pause this for a second. I need to adjust my camera. I'm just going to make sure that I'm in frame. Oh yeah, that cuts off right there. Okay, so I do need to move over a little bit. That's fine. So we'll cut that off right there. Okay. I'm going to turn this camera a little bit actually. There we go. Yeah, that's all I needed. Anyway, I was getting distracted, just checking the camera. What was I saying? Well, I was talking about, high school math. I'm probably going to cut some of this out. This is going to be a long video. Anyway, it's all about gaining information and applying it to different fields. Anyway, so let's say the title. I haven't spoken at all about what we're doing. So this is a new series that I'm calling Understanding Video Games, and part 1 is going to be understanding Sekiro, block versus deflect. This is probably, honestly, I would say that this mechanic in Sekiro is one of the most advanced things in video games ever created. And I think my hope is that as you guys watch this video, you can kind of understand, like, oh yeah, From Software, the guys who make these games are absolute geniuses. Like they make games so much better than anybody else in the industry. It's almost a joke. Like these guys are so stellar, and the work that they put out, like I would love to talk to their animation team and their AI team and their just their entire crew, cuz really they don't miss. Like everything that they do fits exactly with what their style is, and I think it's perfect. So yeah, part 1, block versus deflect. And this is probably going to be a pretty long video. I'm not the type of person to make short videos. I'll tell you that right now. It's kind of not really my style. So yeah, I guess we'll tab over. Yeah, also this is going to be a different style, I guess. I'm going to try and do as little editing as I can. I don't want to really have to go into Premiere and do a bunch of bullshit. I just kind of want it to flow nicely, and I want to be able to just cut some stuff that I don't like and just be happy with that. So let's tab over to the main screen. And we're here. We're already in Sekiro. So the first thing, this is part 1 of part 1. So this is I guess I should call this episode 1 of Understanding Video Games. And episode 1 is all about block versus deflect, but part 1 is all about your block. So this is a 2-part series, or this is a 2-part episode. We're doing first Sekiro's block, and then we're going to transition into enemy blocking and understanding how enemies block and how they react to attacks, because I think that aspect is incredibly advanced and really interesting to understand. So obviously, part 1, we've got to practice blocking enemy attacks. So you've got, let's start from the very beginning. Hold block, you hold it down, right, and you move slower. You can tap block as well, and I would say that is step 1 of understanding how to play these games. I'm not going to waste any time. We're gonna practice with these reflection of strengths. I think these are the best way to show off the different mechanics and show off how certain mechanics interact with each other. So we're going to start off with inner Genichiro. And I think Genichiro is a really good example of practicing your blocking ability. And then when we transition into understanding enemy blocks, then I will show you Lady Butterfly, because I think she's another great example. So Genichiro is really good. This is inner Genichiro. And he's important to understand because he has a lot of moves that benefit from deflecting. I'm going to die a lot, so I'm probably going to pause this. So let's pause this. Okay, so this is Genichiro. Genichiro is probably the first guy that you really had trouble on when you're fighting, when you're playing through Sekiro. But I kind of want to show you the benefits of being able to deflect certain attacks as opposed to blocking them. And as you just saw right there, I do have both of the difficulty modifiers on. So part of this game is that there is no easy mode, but there are 2 levels of hard mode. The game can be 1 level harder and 2 levels harder. And down at the bottom left, it's really hard to see, but I have the icon on the right is the Bell Demon. And that is it just makes enemies deal more damage and it makes them take less damage. So that's the Bell Demon. And then next to it is the special one. That's the Sinister Burden. The Sinister Burden is a really special icon because you can only get this item if you beat the game with the Bell Demon on. So first, step 1, beat the game with the Bell Demon. Step 2, start a new game. You will get Kuro's charm. If you give Kuro his charm, then you activate the Sinister Burden mode. And then that's when Well, it's very complicated. It's a series of things. The most important thing is that you have to deflect attacks. That's the most important thing. Because if you don't deflect an attack perfectly, then the attack will deal damage to your health, regardless of whether you're blocking or not. So if you're just holding down block, here, let's try it. Let's just hold down block and let's see how good we do. Yeah, I'm getting hit. So I took a little bit of damage. And even when he did the Sakura dance, I took damage on that attack. Yeah, so right there, I was kind of focused. You saw that I deflected almost all of those strikes. That's the most important thing. Because Genichiro has a lot of combos that rely on a lot of attacks in a short amount of time. And so what he's going to be good at, yeah, see, he's destructive. I might have to fight regular Genichiro. I think inner Genichiro is a little too hard. So we'll fight regular Genichiro, and we'll see how good he is. So basically, you got a brief glimpse of it. And I think what I might do is, I might do some B-roll where I just do some practice fighting these guys, and then I might just use audio from this. Just because I really want to showcase the benefits of being able to deflect certain attacks. And really what happens is if you can deflect an enemy's attack, then they stop attacking immediately. And I think True Monk is also a good example. Let me think. True Monk is interesting because if you deflect her attacks, she doesn't stop attacking. Yeah, maybe we'll fight Genichiro. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think we'll fight regular Genichiro. Genichiro Ashina. So, yeah, this is part 1, obviously. So really, what I want you guys to understand from this first part is that you can block an attack all day and it won't benefit you. But if you can deflect an attack, then you can create an opening for which you can strike. And that's the most important thing, is that you need to prevent these enemies from striking. Like, you need to keep them on the defensive. And why is that? Well, you do that because, 1, you have no stamina, so you can attack as much as you want. And 2, if you continue to attack them, then they have to block. And that's the secret of Sekiro that you need to understand right off the bat, is that, it's that enemies react to your attack. Yeah, I'm not doing very good. We're going to just show it off a little bit. Not too much, because obviously I'm not doing very good. Yeah, but you saw right there. See, I'm going to try and deflect. Let's just deflect a couple of these. So you always want to be striking. That's step 1. Always be striking. That's what I say. Yep. So there you go. So that was a pretty good example of a deflect. That attack is a very interesting attack that I might talk about later. This is a really important attack. Watch this. That last strike. That was the most important strike. And why was that the most important strike? Because that was a guaranteed combo break. That's the secret of the deflect, is that having the ability to perfectly deflect a strike means that the enemy will be broken out of whatever combo they were in, and then you have the opportunity to strike. Obviously, I probably shouldn't have used that firecracker because that's a bad example. I don't really want to kill this guy. I'm just trying to show it off. Yeah, so you watch. Yeah, when you see that heavy strike, that's what you're looking for. When you hear that really light clang. So that's another thing that I think I'm going to try and do, is I'm going to cut out the audio from this so you just hear the clangs. So there's 2 different clangs. Let's see if we can get the low-pitched one. Let's see. Yeah, you see that? It's a little more dull. The clang is a little more subdued, a little less. But if you get a deflect, then it's a bright, it's flashy, it's easy to tell. Yeah, it makes a little explosion off of your swords. That's what you're looking for. You always want to be deflecting. That's the thing. The block is never as good as the deflect. So what does that mean? That means that you don't really want to hold down block. What you want to be doing is tapping it along with how they strike. And part of doing that is understanding how the enemy's sword moves. So I want you to watch Genichiro strike. I want you to watch his big wide sweeps. So he has wide sweeps that come from the top left and the top right. Watch that. From the upper shoulder. That's where you're looking for. The strike comes almost in a perfect circle. And it's almost like Genichiro was designed to teach you how to deflect. That's my belief, is that From Software designed him as a perfect test to see how competent you were at Sekiro up until this point in the game. So I want you to be watching. This is a perfect example. He has that long wind up, and then each strike comes in at almost the same rate. So you can kind of block on a pattern. Did you see that? That was a really good example. Another good example. Yeah, so we're doing pretty good. This is just what I want to show you is Genichiro has a lot of wind-ups. His attacks take a long time to start attacking. And that's a twofold problem. That's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's a good thing because it means you can understand when he's going to strike, but it's a bad thing because he might be able to mess with your blocks. You know, if that wind-up is just a little too long, you might not line up your block properly. Oh, that's another important thing. So let's show you another important thing to understand. If you get hit, then you can't deflect. So if you get hit, it's really, really hard to deflect. It's because you go into a stagger animation, and that means that your deflect is on a different timer. Well, I don't know if that's accurate, but I will definitely say that when you are in a stagger animation, it's way more difficult for you to line up a good deflect. So that means that for you to be able to deflect properly, you need to be ready to back off. And that's step 2 of understanding this game. And I think I'm going to go into that in another video, but I want you to understand the difference between blocking an attack and dodging an attack, and when do you use which and when are they useful. So I think it should be obvious to you. Genichiro has a bow, and so bows are really easy to dodge. So that's one thing that Genichiro is teaching you, is some attacks are meant to be dodged and some attacks are meant to be blocked. Because when you block a sword strike, you deal damage to their posture, but when you block an arrow or a projectile, you don't deal any posture damage. So really there's no benefit to blocking arrows, and they're also really annoying to block. That's the other thing to think about. And so what Genichiro is teaching you, this combo specifically, if you get hit by that combo, the best plan for you is to run away, like back off and allow yourself to recover and try again. Because the most dangerous situation you can be in is panic, where you get hit and suddenly you lose control of the fight and you lose control of what's happening. That is when death comes, is when you don't have control over what's happening and you don't feel like you know what's going to happen next. It's a measure of confidence, but it's also a measure of just how well you feel and how safe you feel and all these things. Yeah, you saw right there, I couldn't deflect that arrow and I'm basically dead. So we're going to die to Genichiro. I think that was a pretty good section. So let's break down what we talked about. So that was a good test for Genichiro. I think we're going to cut back over here. Let's talk about that. So what did we learn exactly? Step 1, the first thing that we learned is that blocking is never as useful as deflecting. And why is that? Well, it's mostly because deflects are, hence the name, they deflect the strike and they break the enemy out of whatever they were doing. And so when they are broken out, they are counterable. Like that is the counter state where you can hit them with a counter strike. And that's critical to what you're doing. Because the counter strikes are fast and they're just great. They're really useful, and the most beneficial thing is being able to stop an enemy right where they're attacking and then immediately push into them. And so the benefit of deflecting is really you move the momentum. So when an enemy is striking you, the momentum is on you, right? They're pushing into you, and so you have to be on the defensive. But when you deflect, you move the momentum back onto them. And all of a sudden they are broken out of their attack And so what happens is then you can strike and then you can push the momentum back in the other direction. And that is really a crucial thing to understand. Um I think so. I have part 1 and 2, and it's blocking enemy attacks and understanding deflections. And I think honestly we covered both of those. Um, that was a pretty good way of understanding that. Also we learned the this is potentially going to be episode 2 of my series, which is going to be blocking versus dodging, and understanding the range of certain attacks and understanding the safe area of certain attacks, and being able to process, okay, Genichiro is about to do his distance closer strike where he can cover a long distance in a short amount of time. Am I far enough away? That's really the what your ultimate question is. Am I far enough away? Am I at a safe distance, or do I need to be blocking? And like some situations you can get far away in time, but in other situations you are screwed, and they are right in front of you, and you're not going to be able to get far enough away, even if you dodge, even if you jump, even if you make as much space as you can. A lot of these enemies have range beyond any of your capabilities, and so it really is that split-second decision of saying, can I get out of this situation? Like, let's take an example. Genichiro does his combo, okay? His combo always starts with 2 hits. There's a waiting period, and then it's about 5 more hits. So let's say you get hit by the first 2 hits. You need to back off for those, because the next 5 hits are going to come in and they're going to be right in front of you, and you're going to be staggered. So that means that you might not get the deflect, and if you don't get the deflect, then you have 5 strikes that you have to block. And guess what? If you have the way of additional suffering, then you're going to take chip damage on all those, and it's going to be really detrimental to your health. So that's an important thing to understand. Yeah, and so certain attacks, I think you kind of learn as you go. Like Genichiro has the overhead slam, and that attack is easy to dodge because it's vertical. That's one of the most critical things that you can understand about any video game, is that linear attacks that follow a straight path and move forward are the easiest to dodge in some situations, right? Like, let's take a spear for an example. Obviously in Sekiro it's different because you can Mikiri counter those thrust attacks, and so that is another whole can of beans. Like, the Mikiri counter is another example of being able to break an enemy out of their combo instantly. But really, linear attacks that follow a straight path and don't go in an arc, like attacks that don't move across the enemy's body, attacks that are only in one plane, are incredibly easy to dodge, because if the attack is on this plane, all you need to do is move to either side, and that just means rotating. And that's one of the other secrets about dodging that I won't go into, which I'm kind of already am, which is like being able to circle strafe around enemies and being able to know which direction to rotate. So really, if you aren't able to block, if you aren't able to dodge or deflect, then you'll never be good at the game. So that's what you need to practice first. That's what you need to get good at. A lot of enemies in the start of the game are designed for you to practice on. There's one enemy specifically. He has a conical hat, and he wears a shawl made of straw, and those are like the Ashina warriors that are kind of higher tier. Those guys have the ability to deflect your strikes, and then they also follow up with a strike immediately afterwards, and it's always faster than your attack. So that enemy is really good. You strike them twice, and then they attack. So that is a perfect transition. We're gonna get into part 2 of the episode, and part 2 is all about enemy blocking and enemy deflecting. And this is the secret of why this game is so incredible. I have like 300 hours in this game, all right? And I will tell you that the reason that I can keep playing it is because of this mechanic specifically. The mechanic in which every enemy in the game reacts to your strike, regardless of how big they are. Except for like the Guardian Ape. We don't care about him. Let's just talk about people with swords, okay? And so the way that this works is very similar to how you operate, but it's a little bit different. and it comes in two parts. Or it comes in a couple of parts. I won't it's a lot of parts. Let's say that. Step 1, or the first thing to think about, is really how do I say this? It's hard to describe. I think let's just say that every enemy reacts to your strikes in different ways, and it kind of varies. I would say most of the basic enemies are pretty similar, but the bosses are the ones that have very unique like attack reactions. Like they all react differently to your strikes. And that begins, the first thing you need to understand about that is when an enemy blocks versus when an enemy deflects. And so there's one thing that I want to show you guys. It's going to be a little hard to get to. We are going to go to the Hirata estate. We are going to go to the estate path. And all we're going to do is we're going to look for some of these bandits. And there's a really important thing that I want you guys to look for when I'm going into this mission. I won't say it out loud right now. So this guy is really important. We're gonna wait for him to come over here. So this guy with the torch, these bandits are very interesting enemies. These are almost the only enemies that are like this in the entire game. And I'm not gonna say anything yet, but I want you all to tell me what is special about these bandits. And I just want you to try and figure it out. And it's going to be pretty obvious once I start attacking. So just pay attention. Obviously, this section is about blocking and deflecting. So let's see if you can figure it out. I'm just going to strike him. All right, do you see what's happening? That was a little quick. We're going to do another guy. Let's see if we can show him. So we'll do one more dude, and let's see if we can show you what I mean. Just a bunch of dogs. Okay, we got a couple dogs. Let's kill these dogs. Oh, that's bad. Let's kill those dogs. Nope. Okay, we'll kill this last dog. So this is a very basic thing to understand. So watch again. Watch what happens when I strike him. Do you notice anything that is not happening? Do you notice anything that he didn't perform? I'll give you a couple more seconds in case you haven't figured it out. Okay. All right. Have you figured it out yet? Yes, no, maybe. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna explain it to you guys now. So let's go back to the dilapidated temple. Cut back over here. So the special thing about those bandits is that they don't have a deflect animation. That's the secret. That's what you need to know. The bandits are only able to block your strike. And why is that important? Why do you think that's important? If you've learned anything from how Sekiro defends himself, what have you learned? Well, what I would say is that if an enemy can't deflect your strike, then he can't stop you from attacking. That is the secret. If an enemy can only block your strike, then they have no ability to stop you from attacking. As long as they don't perform something that breaks you out, they're hopeless. They're already dead. That's the thing. Those bandits can only block, so all you have to do is keep striking. And as long as you keep striking, they can't perform any other actions, and they're already dead. So that's step 1. Step 2 is now understanding how enemies deflect. So we've seen that some enemies don't even deflect. So when do they deflect? That is another interesting question. And for that, I'm going to bring you guys into another boss fight. I'm going to show you the boss fight for Lady Butterfly. Lady Butterfly is another example of a boss that is designed to teach you how to play the game. She's right at the beginning of the game, and she has a very simple purpose. I want you guys to pay attention to how she blocks and how I react to her blocking. It'll be very obvious right from the start. Just watch. There, that's a deflect. Let's just pay it. I'll call him out when I see him. There's a deflect again. So she does a block, deflect. You're watching that? Let's do it again. There's a block, there's a deflect. Okay, keep watching. So are you guys starting to see a pattern? There's a hit, there's a block, there's a deflect. So basically what happens is I'm getting one free hit. Oh, sometimes I'm getting... Okay, so here's another thing to think about. Sometimes I can get a hit off and deal health damage, but sometimes she blocks the attack. Now, why is that? I'm already dead. That was a bad choice on my part. So why is it that sometimes I'm dealing health damage, but sometimes she's able to block? Well, let's see if I can do this properly. Let's hit her with some firecrackers, and we're going to walk behind her. So you saw that. I hit her with the firecracker. She was stunned, and then all I had to do was walk behind her. And then when I was behind her, I was able to hit her health and actually deal damage to her health. So that is what you need to understand, is that most enemies have like an angle of block. They have a blocking angle. And anything outside of that angle, they can't block in. So you just saw that again. So what did I do? I hit her with the firecrackers, which stunned her, and then I walked to her back. So Sekiro does not have backstabs, but it doesn't matter, because being able to hit someone from behind and stagger them is infinitely more useful than being able to the backstab. Honestly, like it serves way more purpose, and it actually makes the fights way more enjoyable. Because now your job as a player is to not only be able to dodge properly and be able to block properly, but you also have to be able to attack. You also have to pay attention to her blocking patterns. And the important thing to know is that after an enemy deflects, they are almost guaranteed to strike. So you know when you hear that deflect sound, when you hear that high-pitched clang, you know that what's going to happen? A strike is about to happen. And so you're prepared. And it becomes second nature. That's what happens. It becomes instinct that you're paying attention for the block animation. You're paying attention for the deflect animation. And when you see that deflect animation, then you react instinctively. And you change your attack pattern in an instant, in a fraction of a second. And you go from pushing and applying momentum to now relaxing, and you're slowing down, and now you're waiting for another opportunity to strike. That's the secret of Lady Butterfly. That's what she teaches you. Lady Butterfly is designed to show you when you attack and when you wait, because you are a warrior, and as a warrior you have to know when you have an opportunity to strike and when you don't. That's the important thing. You know when it's safe to attack and when it's not safe to attack. So I've just been going through, and you've been watching. I hope you've been paying attention. So a lot of her strikes are close range. But as you can see, the special thing about Lady Butterfly is that some of her strikes are designed to create distance and then close the distance in a fraction of a second. So let's see if I can see an example. So that kick that she does after a deflect is a very common strike. So that's why I'm really used to blocking it, because I've blocked that strike so many times. All right, and we're about to get her to the second phase, where it gets a little bit more challenging. So we'll just show that off. Yeah. And the other thing to think about is that not only can you stagger an enemy when you hit them from behind, but you can also stagger an enemy right after they attack. So certain attacks, like Lady Butterfly's grab attack and certain other attacks, they leave the opponent exposed for a fraction of a second. And if you can strike in that second, then you have a perfect opportunity. I would say Lady Butterfly is a good example, because whenever she lands on the ground, she has a split second of weakness where you can hit her and deal health damage. And if you can take advantage of that split second, then you can chip away at her health slowly but surely. And that's going to be another section of Sekiro that I want to talk about, which is DPS and dealing enough damage and understanding how much damage you need to be dealing. But for now, let's focus on blocking and deflecting. So I think we've gotten a pretty good understanding of this. I will also say another thing that I've not been able to show is that most enemies have a block cycle. And what that means is that their block animation is looping, so they can potentially block forever. This is one of the strikes that I always run away from, because there's just too many hits, and it's too fast, and I'm never able to deflect all of them. And so because I can't deflect all of those strikes, it benefits me much more to run away and get some distance. because if I get some distance, then I can take advantage of that final strike. And that final strike is designed for an opening. It is created so that you can take advantage of it and counter her and get some momentum back into the fight. Yeah, so Lady Butterfly is, these two bosses are really important for you to practice. And the special thing is, now that the new update for Sekiro has released, the one that allows you to fight bosses in the reflections of strength, now is a great opportunity for you to get back into Sekiro and practice some of these bosses and start to understand the intricacies of how these mechanics are designed. And I think in another part, I'm going to talk about dealing damage in addition to using your abilities. So on the bottom right, we've got some spirit emblems. Obviously, I have way more than the normal amount. I have 50. But I'm dead. So we'll keep going until I die one more time, and then I think it'll be pretty good. We've been going for 40 minutes. That's just straight. A lot of stuff I got to cut out probably. I don't think people are going to watch 40 minutes of this. But also, it's pretty consistent. I'm going to have to go through and edit it. You know, as my own editor, I have this benefit. So anyway, this is pretty basic. Let's just let her kill me, and then we'll just block. We won't use anything else. We'll just attack and then block. And really, you guys are watching this pattern, and you're realizing a lot of stuff, hopefully. That's what I want to have happen. I'm hoping that, if you're watching this, I'm hoping that you can kind of get a feel for how the game moves. You just saw right there, she blocked twice instead of blocking once. So that's the other important thing about this game, is that while most enemies have a tendency to do certain attacks, it's never a 100% chance. So that's the secret. I would also say is that every enemy has some mix-ups. They have some attacks that are designed so that you get lulled into a false sense of security, and then all of a sudden they switch up the attacks, and then you get absolutely destroyed. And there's one boss that I would like to show you for that, but he's a little harder to show. And that is Inner Owl. Inner Owl is one of the most incredible bosses, or literally one of the most incredible feats of media I've ever had the pleasure of being involved with. And I might do a separate thing where it's just okay, so we're done here. I might just record a clip where it's just me fighting Owl, and I can do some voiceover over it, and then I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about. But really, I hope you guys understood what was going on. So let's do a recap of what we just went through. So we talked with Lady Butterfly, we fought her a little bit, and we did some learning on what kind of attack she does, and we learned a couple things. The first thing is that every enemy reacts to your strikes. No matter how big they are, if you hit them enough times, they will react. And the normal-sized human enemies will react every time you strike. Why is that important, though? Well, that's part 2. Part 2 is being able to hit enemies when they are vulnerable. So most enemies are able to block you within a certain angle. So let's say this angle in front of me, anywhere within this range, if you attack me anywhere within this area in front of me, just like this, if you can hit me anywhere in this area, then I'll be able to block. But if you can hit me just out, if you can hit me just behind my shoulder, I can't block there, right? You just hit me and I stagger. So then I'm staggered. So then the next thing that's going to come is step 3, and that is the block versus the deflect. And what we learned from the bandits is that every enemy has a blocking cycle, which means that some enemies will block forever and they will never deflect. But the blocking cycle always leads into a deflect unless they can't, right? Okay, it's a little confusing, I know, but I hope you can follow me. So, right? So let's do a little bit of a flow chart. So let's say you hit Lady Butterfly once and you stagger her because you hit her behind her shoulder. That's your first hit. You hit her a second time. That's your second hit, right? She blocks that hit. That's the thing you need to realize. You are you are it's very rare that you will get 2 stagger hits, right? It's very rare that you hit them once and they stagger, and then you hit them again and they also stagger. And also, if that does happen, that's risky because certain enemies will react differently in that situation. I'm thinking of Saint Ishin specifically. I won't get into it, but he is a bastard with that sneakiness. Okay, so let's go back. First hit is a stagger. That's a health hit. You did health damage. That's good. Second hit is a block. It deals marginal guard damage, but if you can continue to hit their block, it's good. Third hit or fourth hit is almost always a guaranteed deflect. Okay? I would say if you can hit an enemy 5 times, that's a miracle. I would say even 4 times is very strange. I would say 3 is most likely to happen. You're most likely to get a stagger hit, a block hit, and a deflect hit. All 3 of those. Or if you can't get behind them, it's just a block hit and a deflect, and that's it. That's all you get. Okay? So these are the things that you need to be thinking out. You might feel like you can attack constantly, but you can't. You can only attack when there's an opening. Okay? So you're fighting Lady Butterfly. You got the health hit, you got the block, and you got the deflect. So what comes next? After the deflect, they're almost guaranteed to strike. And Lady Butterfly is a perfect example of the variety of strikes that an enemy can use. And that is what you need to understand, is that you should never be expecting a certain strike. You should always be prepared for something to surprise you. And that is not a helpful thing to tell you. That's not going to help you learn, but you're going to realize at some point you're going to be really confident and they're going to deflect and you're going to be expecting her kick to come, but it's actually going to be the sweep attack. And the sweep attack kills you in 1 hit. That has killed me so many times. Where I do a health hit, I do a block, and I do a deflect, and then I wait for her to kick. And I'm expecting her to kick, and she doesn't kick. She jumps back, and then she does the sweep attack with her knives, and she kills you in 1 hit, okay? And that's when you realize that you've got lulled into a false sense of security. That's the moment that you realize, I fucked up. Like, I made a mistake, all right? And that's when you gotta try harder, okay? And that's gonna happen to everybody. If you care about this game and you want to be good at it, it's gonna happen to you, okay? You're going to run into that situation where you feel confident and then you get shot on, okay? So just be prepared. And I think that's probably the most important things. And I would say, if you ever fight Inner Father, you will understand the meaning of not knowing what's going to happen. Because that guy, he has about 3 or 4 different reactions to every strike. So in some situations, if you try and get that stagger hit from behind, he will literally just teleport behind you. He'll use the Mistraven feather, and he will warp behind you and hit you with a lightning fast double strike, and that's almost a guaranteed kill. So that's my challenge to you, the person watching. I want you to complete the Shura Gauntlet of Strength, and I want you to fight Inner Father, and I want you to get to that point where you get bodied by the Mistraven attack, the one where he teleports behind you, and you will know what I'm talking about, because Inner Father is stellar, just beautiful. So yeah, let's do one quick recap. So it's a twofold. Understanding blocking, deflecting is twofold. For you, it's a lot more effective than it is for enemies. Why is that? Well, you are in control of Sekiro, so you are a human versus an AI, so you already have that benefit. But really, if you are good at deflecting, then you can stop enemies from attacking very often. And then if you are able to deflect them every time, then it becomes more about deflecting as a way to create an opening, or attacking as a way to incentivize the enemy to attack back. That's the secret, is when you attack an enemy, they will attack you back, right? If you get an enemy to block you and then deflect you, that's a guarantee that they will do a strike. Okay, almost guarantee. I would say very rarely they might just back off, but in most situations, if you can attack an enemy head on and get them to deflect, then you can create an attack, right? And if you are in control of when the enemy attacks and you know when they're going to attack, then you can take advantage of that, okay? And that's what you need to understand. It's a step, it's a process. Step 1, you deflect their strikes. So certain combos won't be broken until the last strike. Let's take Genichiro for an example. When he uses that 5-hit combo, you have to deflect every single one of those hits, because only the last one matters, and only the last one deals the most damage. So really, you could potentially block all of them, but if you don't deflect the last strike, then you're not going to create an opening, okay? So that's part 1. When you create that opening, that is your opportunity to strike. And it's also maybe your opportunity to use a firecracker, which stuns the enemy and then allows you to get a stagger hit. That's correct. A health hit as well. And so you can kind of see how a pattern begins to form. You know, you attack, you get them to deflect, they attack, you deflect. And then guess what you're doing? You're attacking again, all right? It's a back and forth. And if you can stay in control of the back and forth, then you can stay in control of the fight and you can win, okay? That's the thing. You need to know when you're in control and you need to know when you need to back off, okay? And that is what you learn about playing these games. And that's why people who say, how is this going to help me? People like that will never grow, and they will never grow better because they don't apply things to the rest of their life. So what can you learn? All right, you're playing Sekiro. Your friends think you're a loser because all you do is play video games. But what have you learned from playing Sekiro? You've learned, when do I have control and when does the other person have control? It doesn't apply in a conversation situation, but it's important to understand the patterns. And this is my own personal experience, but I think being able to apply the things you've learned from video games and apply those to real life, it doesn't work in every situation, but it can be useful. And for me, Sekiro teaches me, when am I in control? When am I not? And the purpose of Sekiro is to teach you, to help you learn how you act when you're in control, and what does it feel like when you are in control of a situation, right? It's a video game, so it doesn't apply perfectly, but I think it's important to understand that as a human, it's good to take ideas and apply them to different situations, okay? Very long. This has been a very long episode. It's 48 minutes, but I'm going to cut it here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, this is episode 1 of Understanding Video Games. This is episode 1, Understanding Sekiro, blocking versus deflecting, okay? Blocking versus deflecting. So thank you guys for stopping by. If you stayed till the end of the video, thank you very much. I really appreciate your support. If you would like to support me through algorithmic methods, if you would like to, leave a like, hit the notification bell, hit that subscribe button, whatever you feel like, I would really appreciate it. There's not very many people here, so chances are you might get a thank you directly from me. I'm not going to give any promises, but I really hope that the person watching this, I really hope that you gain some benefit from this, because I've got a lot to talk about and I really want to do more of these, and this is fun. This is a lot easier than I thought it would be. I've been sitting here for almost an hour, and yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. So thank you guys for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed. Take care, and bye-bye.